The JSE All Share index was trading more than 1.5% higher in early trade, extending gains for the second straight session in line with its global peers, with investors digesting hawkish US Federal Reserve minutes. The rand, on the other hand, remains under pressure against major currencies. Roy Mutooni is an analyst at ABSA Asset Management with us now to talk about how all of this is coming together and look at other business news, in fact, as well on our agenda. Roy, welcome back to Daytime Update. And at last check, the rand was trading around 16.82 against the dollar. Is there any sign of reprieve?
Hi, Tambekile. So it's actually strengthened a little bit with about 1670 something-ish thereabouts. But I think it's important to take this thing into perspective. I think over the past 1 week, we're down about 3 or 4%. And within that period, Brazil, Peru, and a couple of others have been worse than that. If I look at it from a year-to-date basis, there's probably only 3 currencies that have been positive relative to the US dollar, and we're down barely about 5%. So it looks like it's a disaster, but in reality, we're just following where our peers are going, and we're doing pretty well relative to what they're doing when we talk about relative to the dollar.
And we're talking now, we have been at least for the last hour or so, about what we're told is an imminent resignation by the UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson. Big story politically, but should South Africa be on the lookout for anything on the financial or markets front?
I really don't think so. I think this is largely an internal thing. Remember, all that's going to happen is that I think he resigns as a caretaker, then somebody else from the Conservative Party takes over from him when they have their conference, I think, in September. So I think all you could possibly look forward to is maybe a new Prime Minister who will speak to the EU a little bit better, who's got less extremist views, but it's still a Conservative Party candidate. So relative to South Africa, I really don't see much of a change to be honest.
Huge Group has concluded the takeover transaction of Tethy's Mobile, formerly known as Virgin Mobile South Africa. Tell us about that agreement.
So that's an interesting one. What they're effectively doing is they're taking that Virgin Group, Virgin Mobile business out of business rescue. It has no retail clients as it stands right now. It just has some IP which allows them to manage MVNOs, mobile virtual network operators. So what Huge Group are effectively saying is that now that spectrum has been issued, there's a bit more capacity in the airwaves, and they can actually try and grow this line of business, getting virtual operators onto spectrum and onto networks, and that creates a whole new business. So I think it's a positive thing, and I suppose it saves a whole bunch of jobs that would have been lost if they hadn't come in.
And shares that Avenge were advancing on the back of a 282 million rand claim settlement as well as debt repayment plan. What does that mean then for the company?
So for the company, remember, these guys have really been struggling with excessive debt, projects that didn't go through, and various claims. So what this does is it just reduces that debt problem, both from the perspective of reducing debt in Australia, and also that debt repayment plan gives them a little bit more certainty. They're still not out of the woods entirely. They have one more business to sell, and only then will they be able to look at what their steady state level is. That debt remains a problem. Maybe if they're able to sell that business, which is Trident Steel, they'll be able to plan a lot better and look a lot further into the future. So it's a good step. That's why shareholders are happy, but still early days.
Roy Mutooni, thank you very much for your time. Thank you for helping us look at the markets this Thursday afternoon.